Are you kidding me? Are you serious? WWE needs to cancel Monday Night Raw. Just straight up cancel it. At this point, if you are going to continuously tape every single show at this point in the last few months is just getting taped now. Everything's just taped. Tape this, tape that, tape this. And the excuse is that, oh, well, Triple H is giving time to his talent. You know, it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was not last week. Thanksgiving is not this week. It's next week. So why are we taping tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw? What is the purpose? I'll tell you the purpose. They phone in every single performance. They phone in the shows. And at this point, if you're going to phone it in and it's going to be this bad with the fake crowd noises and the fake pops and the fake boos and the poor editing to the point where at some certain segments and voiceovers, you could tell that Joe Tessitore was not doing the voiceover at ringside. He was recording it in a separate location and the voiceovers weren't even matching to what was actually being shown on screen. And surprise, surprise, the fake boos and the fake cheers were not even, according to what was happening on screen. It wasn't timed correctly. The editing is bad. The voiceovers are bad. And the segments and matches are such low effort for the most part. This is dreadful, man. Cancel the show. If you're going to phone in the performance, just don't even do it at all. You know what I'm saying? Give it your best or don't do it at all. It is ridiculous, man. It's absolutely absurd. This is one of the worst episodes of Raw that I've ever seen inside of my life. In my life. Now let's get into actually what started off the show. Liv Morgan basically comes out and says absolutely nothing. Okay, she comes out and does her usual, welcome to Monday Night Morgan. Everyone has the same gimmick now. So now it's welcome to Monday Night Morgan. Welcome to, welcome to what's it called? What does Seth Rollins say? Welcome to Monday Night Rollins, right? And then every other champion says the same stuff. Welcome to my house. Welcome to my arena. Welcome to my show. It's not your show. You're all jobbers. You're all jobbers. Unless your name is Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, The Rock, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, or that's pretty much it. I guess, the Bloodline counts too, because they're always going to be important. Unless you're in that grouping, or your name is Braun Breaker or Sheamus or Orton, you're a jobber. It's very simple stuff. Everyone already knows this already. Now, Liv Morgan comes out, says, welcome to Monday Night Morgan. I'm the champion. I won the crown jewel. I'm Liv Morgan. I took your title. And then she gets interrupted by Nia Jax, who, guess what Nia Jax has to say tonight, guys? Nothing. She comes out and she basically says, well, I'm your queen. I don't think about you at all, Raquel. I don't think about you at all, Liv. The champ has been thinking about Jade and Bianca. I've been thinking about you so much. And then she's interrupted. Thank God she was interrupted, because at the end of the day, Nia Jax is a joke on the mic. She's a joke. I don't think Nia Jax is as trash as people say she is, but she is not that good either. Know that and accept that in your hearts. Then Bianca comes out and she interrupts with Jade Cargill and Naomi and Io Sky. And they basically walk out to the ring and they're basically telling Liv Morgan, Liv Morgan says to them actually, where's your fifth member? We have 5, you don't have 5. And then all of a sudden, Rhea Ripley is officially backed. Why is one of your top stars returning on a taped episode of Monday Night Raw? Does anybody know that? Can anyone explain that, please? Any genius out there, right? Because apparently, I'm a hater. You know what I hate? I hate bad content. And stuff like this just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand how people are just okay with this garbage. Why is Rhea Ripley returning on a taped show? And again, why is tonight's episode of Raw taped? Because no one wrestles anymore. No one delivers promos. And guess what? In fitting fashion, Rhea Ripley walks out to the ring in a face mask. She's wearing a mask now because of her quote-unquote orbital injury, which probably is just a kayfabe injury anyways, but whatever. Rhea Ripley walks up into the ring, and she yells, War Games! War Games! I took my title back! And then she headbutts Liv, and that's pretty much it. They just brawl around. They brawl. Liv Morgan, as usual, is running away from Rhea Ripley because that's how Liv Morgan is booked. She's a weak champion. She's not a good champion. And she's not engaging anymore. Everything with Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan in the Judgment Day is annoying, boring, and uninteresting. It's like a nag now to watch this every week. It just is. It's just annoying at this point, man. It's the same stuff. It's infuriating how Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley get away with barely wrestling on live TV, and they get away with barely cutting promos, and when they do cut promos, the promos suck, and they use the same material. Watch the last 10 promos from each of these characters, and you will see they're saying the same stuff each time. I took your title. I took Dom. I took your title, Rhea. I took the Judgment Day. Rhea. Shut up. Rhea Ripley comes out. I'm going to take my title back. The one thing I never lost, yeah? So this basically renders nothing meaningful anymore. It doesn't matter. What is this 5v5 at War Games going to accomplish? Besides giving us a bad match. You're going to accomplish that, It's Survivor Series War Games, and you're telling me that I have to sit back and watch Raquel Rodriguez, Candice LeRae? Are you out of your mind? Nia Jax, Liv Morgan? Really? I mean, this is Tiffany Stratton again, who's been relegated to being booked like an absolute jobber. Like, what is the appeal with this match, and what does this accomplish? If Bianca and her team win, what does that accomplish? If Liv Morgan's team wins, what does that accomplish? Nothing. Io Sky just won the #1 World Heavyweight Championship Contender Rumble like 3 weeks ago. Where's her title match at? It's not happening next week on Raw. It didn't happen tonight, and it's not happening at Survivor Series. So basically, she won a #1 contendership thing to go ahead and fight in 8 weeks from when she won the contenders match. So what's the point of any of this? We know she's not going to win. It's going to be set up for Rhea Ripley to eventually, beat Liv Morgan and take her title back that she never lost, yeah? It's ridiculous at this point, man. So none of this matters. This is going to be one of the worst War Games matches I've probably ever seen. And even if there's a couple cool spots, they're all going to be done by Io Sky and Bianca Belair, probably. We already know this. Maybe Tiffany Stratton as well, but that's it. No one else in this match is going to contribute literally anything, because none of them are wrestling. Bianca and Io are the only ones who wrestle week to week and do things that actually matter and are engaging. Io Sky's been on a tear the last couple months. But no, let's reward Liv Morgan, the person who doesn't do anything on week-to-week television. But anyways, then we get Rey Mysterio and Zelina Vega versus American Made. At this point, Chad Gable might as well just go ahead and just leave. Just leave the company. Nobody cares at this point. Chad Gable is a jobber. He had a great first half to this year, and he was on a roll. And I honestly was rooting for Chad Gable. If you guys remember, I was hoping Chad Gable would eventually win the IC belt, actually, because he was cutting good promos, he was doing good heel work, and, I thought he was pretty funny in some of his segments, and obviously he's wrestling good matches. But the reward for that now is just being a jobber. I mean, look at Montez Ford. Good promos, athletic, younger side of the roster, amazing on the mic, great energy, great charisma, a solid theme, too, for him and Dawkins. And what did they get rewarded with? Being undercard jobbers who can't beat DIY, who can't beat Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga. You see what I'm saying? Talent on this roster doesn't get rewarded because the actual real talents who are working week to week don't do anything. But the people who aren't working week to week get to sit at home on their butts and do nothing. They do nothing. You're getting taped shows and getting the week off for what? For what? When is the last time Rhea Ripley has wrestled on Raw TV? What, a month and a half? And then before that, it was when? January? So 2 matches on Raw gets you a free week off. Are you kidding me? Imagine you show up to work 2 times in a month, and that rewards you with 5 more months off. What is the logic behind this, man? Seriously. Oh, well, they have to do interviews. They have to do live events. Great. You have 1 live event for 4 days a month. Congratulations. So I'm done. Anyways, back to this match. Rey and Zelina versus American Made was a decent match, I guess, if you want to say that. It had one great spot, which was when Rey Mysterio basically flipped Zelina Vega up onto Chad Gable, and she hit a Hurricane Rana off the top rope. That was a very good spot. It was pretty entertaining. It was cool. But outside of that, nothing in this match matters other than the fact that this week, you will see a wrestler appreciation video from me. I need to show respect to people like Rey Mysterio, to people like Sheamus, etc., who actually are still putting in work in their mid to late 40s. It is impressive. It is supremely respectable. And at the end of the day, these guys deserve to be appreciated for their amazing work over the last decade or 2 at this point. They are the true workhorses of this company, and they deserve to get noticed for what they're doing. Now, Rey Mysterio was awesome. Zelina Vega, honestly, man, at this point, I don't think Zelina Vega is that good. She's decent on the mic, I'll say that much. She's definitely a better promo than a lot of these other women's wrestlers, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? She's not going to be anything more than just a jobber for the foreseeable future. But I will say, Rey and Zelina Vega, they deserve somewhat of some type of respect, right? Zelina Vega is obviously better than like the PFC and like all the other jobbers, you get what I mean? And she's honestly not that far off of Liv Morgan either, as far as I'm concerned. But that doesn't matter. After this, American Made pretty much, Chad Gable slaps the Creed brothers in the faces and then gets them all riled up and hype, and then they throw their fists up, and that's it. Raise your fist. You know what I'm saying? Like the Motor City Machine Bums. Anyways, then we get to Gunther backstage, who officially gets buried once and for all. He tells Ludwig Kaiser, look, I don't need you to defend me. I don't need you to back me. What I need you to do is to start sticking up for yourself and become your own man, which is good. Finally, Ludwig can leave this bum Gunther's shadow because Gunther is now buried, and when he eventually loses to CM Punk or John Cena or whoever for the World Championship, or even Damian Priest as soon as in 2 weeks, no one's going to care. Gunther will be back to being a mid-card or an undercard jobber whatever. Go fight for the IC belt at WrestleMania versus Chad Gable or something. Nobody cares anymore. But then after this, Gunther sneaks up on Damian Priest and puts him into a headlock. He then gets easily countered and kicked in the gut and then gets slammed down to the ground pretty much and pushed down to the ground. He gets pushed into some boxes and then falls to the ground, right? And then Damian Priest sits down in a chair over him because Damian Priest is like signing autographs or some crap. He sits down over Gunther and he's like, look, you may be the ring general out there in the ring, but in these streets, I'm the king. And he's sitting over Gunther while Gunther's knocked down and laying there like a bum. This is the World Heavyweight Champion, the quote-unquote King General, the dude who won the King of the Ring and the World Championship, and he's laying on the ground in favor of a jobber like Damian Priest. You can't make this up. It's over. The whole Gunther allure, Damian Priest was kind of spitting last week, honestly, at this point. His promo was not good, but the one thing that was right is that Gunther's allure after winning the World Championship is dead. It's gone. He's boring, he's uninteresting, and he doesn't wrestle and doesn't cut engaging promos. What is the point of him still being champion? At this point, let Damian just win it at Survivor Series. It wouldn't make a difference. Nobody cares. Until Drew, Seth, or Punk, or Cena, or Orton, or any of these people get their hands on the World Championship, it's meaningless to me. It's absolutely meaningless. So that's that. Gunther is officially buried, and Damian Priest is going to probably... I think he's going to lose that Survivor Series, but if he were to win, I genuinely wouldn't care, because they're both bad champions, and none of them matter to me whatsoever. If they don't wrestle again in WWE, you'd probably see me make a video about it and cheer it. Anyways, then you also have, Sheamus versus Braun Breaker. This match was awesome. Easily the best part of the night. Sheamus at this point is just certified banger each week when he's wrestling. It just is. He knows how to be physical. He knows how to sell, obviously, and he's a veteran. He does great. He has a great moveset that keeps developing at this point. The white noise, which is kind of what this episode was. This episode was literally just white noise. I mean, it's absolute nonsense and filler garbage. Sheamus pretty much goes out there, and him and Braun Breaker put on an absolute banger on Raw. Braun Breaker's doing random moves like jumping off of the apron and jumping over Sheamus onto the announce table like it was really sick. And then Braun Breaker got up on the rope for some reason during this match and tried to hit like a diving senton off the top rope just randomly. I'm like, Braun Breaker's just trying stuff at this point. He's so athletic, he's just doing stuff, and he landed directly on his back too and took the bump and got right up. I mean, he's young and he's very athletic. He's NFL level athletic, so I mean, it's not surprising to me, but that's that. He hit his Frankenstein off the top rope. Sheamus hit a white noise off the top rope. He got a nasty, he caught him with like that high knee thing he does when Braun was going for the spear. It was a really, really good set of counters and physicality and athleticism and moveset. It was a very, very good match. And surprisingly, this dead crowd during this taping actually got really hyped for this match because it was that good. After this happened, though, at the end of this match, Ludwig got interfered with the match after Sheamus rolled out of the ring, and he clotheslined Braun Breaker as Braun was trying to go for a spear. He beats up Braun Breaker, and then he dropkicks Sheamus into the steel steps, and then raises his fist, and that's it. I guess this is Ludwig trying to become his own man, which, quite frankly, Ludwig can cut a promo. He's athletic. He's decent in the ring. I mean, I don't know. Let's just see what happens in his mid-card run. He has at least somewhat potential to be a decent mid-carder or an undercarder, okay? I'm not going to call him a bum, because he's not a bum, all right? I'll give him that. Then we have a Bloodline backstage segment where it's basically Sami Zayn and Jey Uso and Jimmy saying the same stuff they usually say, to Seth at least over the last couple weeks. Seth, we need you to join, man. We need you as a fifth member. You broke your ties with Cody Rhodes, right? You guys had a big beef and a big, vitriol towards each other, but then all of a sudden you put that down aside in order to help team with him at War Games last year with me and Jay. That's what Sami says to Seth. And Seth is kind of thinking about it. He's contemplating it. And Sami's like, if you can put that difference away, you can put your difference aside with Roman Reigns, okay? And then Seth is like, no, I'm not doing it. I know I want to get back at Bronson Reed, and I know I put my differences aside last year, but I will never team with that tyrant. He calls Roman Reigns a tyrant, and then he says he'll never team with him again. And at this point, I'm like, so what? Like, literally, so what at this point? Why can we not just go ahead and just grab The Rock? Or grab Zilla Fatu, which honestly, The Rock is above doing stuff like this at this point, right? We already know that, but like Zilla Fatu, or some other Fatu, or some other member. Maybe Paul Heyman comes back and surprises us with some entrant or something like that into the fifth member of the War Games team for the OG Bloodline. Anything at this point. I'm done with the cat and mouse thing where, I'm not going to join, and then they join in a week or two. Seth Rollins doesn't even need to be included in this feud, and quite frankly, Bronson Reed didn't need to be included either. Bronson Reed's addition, though, makes a lot more sense and works a lot better for that team than Seth Rollins' works for the OG Bloodline. But that's none of my business. Maybe Seth Rollins shows up and has a great segment with Roman this week on SmackDown, but knowing this, SmackDown's probably going to get taped again, so who even knows at this point, right? But we'll just see what happens with this. He has a match with Bronson Reed later in the night, but as for now, as this segment, Seth Rollins basically says, I'm not in it, I cannot team with Roman, I'm out. go get help for the 5th member at War Games. It's not coming from me. Then we get War Raiders versus the Judgment Day. And this match is pretty much Dominic Mysterio and Carlito versus the War Raiders. Nobody cares about this match. Do you remember when the War Raiders won their tag match, right? And they were slated to have a World Championship tag match on Raw? When did they win that match, that contenders match? What, like 3 or 4 weeks ago at this point? And they still haven't had that match? What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? Seriously, at this point. It's the same thing with Io winning her World Championship shot. When are these championship matches going to happen? When? We don't know. You know, and the tag team championships, Finn and JD specifically, have been defended, 2 times in 4 or 5 months? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me at this point? It is absurd how little work these dudes do, and they're still getting time off. For what? Anyways, man, this match itself, boring. Nobody cared about it. I don't really know what else to say about it, man. Dominic Mysterio didn't contribute anything. After this match is over, though, and the War Raiders end up winning, Finn Balor and JD McDonough come out and basically beat the crap out of the War Raiders and raise their fists. Basically saying, okay, when you fight us for the tag championships, we're going to win. Which, again, nobody cares who wins because both of these teams are full of jobbers, and the New Judgment Day has contributed about as much to Raw as some random guy has down the street. They haven't contributed anything in the last year pretty much at this point. They've done nothing. It's the same story, just repeated narratives, repeated dialogue. The Judgment Day, you Damien, you did this, you're the problem now, yeah? Shut up, man. Sit down. Then the next thing was the Wyatt 6 in this little Final Testament little like video vignette thing. Again, I can't even tell you 5 things that were said in this video because nobody cares. The Miz is like, oh, you think you know cinema? I'm the real star. I put on a performance and I tricked you, the Wyatt 6. Look at me, I'm the Miz. The Miz is a jobber. He's a jobber now. He hasn't really been relevant and good since like the 2010s at this point. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't contributed anything in the last few years. And quite frankly, when you're in a situation where you're in the Final Testament with Karrion Kross, Scarlett, and AOP, which are a bunch of jobbers, and you're fighting another group like the Wyatt 6, which is full of jobbers, both of these teams, I'll say this every time, every week, I don't care how many times I have to say it, when they're on Raw, you don't notice any difference, other than the fact that the show becomes more like fillery, garbagey, and boring. When they're not on Raw, you don't notice a difference, other than the fact that you're missing that extra boring segment a night. They carry no weight whether they show up or don't show up on Raw. It's the same thing for both of these factions. Therefore, nobody cares. When is this match going to happen? Let me guess. A random episode of Raw, the Final Testament loses to the Wyatt 6, Miz comes to his senses, and then what? Karrion Kross will be shoved into another feud with some other undercard jobber, and then that'll be the end of that. Maybe him and Scarlett get fired after, who knows. Wyatt 6, it's the same thing. They're on the verge of being out the door as well because they don't contribute jack squat to the show anymore. Tired of this, man. Every single wrestler now is just there for name and reputation because Triple H likes them, I guess. Because they don't contribute anything. If you don't contribute, why are you there? Why are you there? Seriously, man. At this point, it's just ridiculous. You can't find anyone from NXT or an AEW reject to just come in here and just fill the role of the Final Testament to wrestle some undercard jobber match every 4 or 5 weeks? Come on, man. It's ridiculous. I would much rather see Dragon Lee versus Chad Gable every single week to a best of 7 like Melo and Andrade than watch the Final Testament and Wyatt 6 job out. Seriously, man. Come on, bro. Anyways, main event. Seth Rollins versus Bronson Reed. Pretty much the story of this match is that the match is actually pretty decent as far as I'm concerned. I think they work well together in the ring. I thought their match at Crown Jewel was actually very good. So this match, to no surprise to me, was actually pretty solid overall. Seth was doing springboard moonsaults. He brought back that like flying knee thing that he used to do back in the day when he was in like his prime in the 2010s, which was cool. A little callback there. Bronson Reed does like a double senton at one point. Seth tried to curb stomp him on the steps. It's a similar match to what happened at Crown Jewel, but just a little bit smaller scale for Raw, obviously. And then during this match, the new Bloodline comes out and tries to distract him, and then the Jey Uso, the OG Bloodline, him, Sammy, and Jimmy come out and, basically fight back at that new Bloodline to get them out of the way so Seth can wrestle a normal match. At the end of this match, though, as after everything happens, you know what I'm saying, Solo basically comes out and costs Seth Rollins this match. He comes out and distracts him. Bronson Reed pulls Seth Rollins off the rope and hits him with like this little like running pile slam, like running power slam kind of thing, and then he hits him with like 2 double sentons, which was pretty cool, and then he bangs out the tsunami. Wade Barrett did a great call on that tsunami, and that was pretty much the end of the match. He pinned Seth Rollins due to interference, and that's pretty much the situation here. Will this lead to Seth Rollins joining the OG Bloodline? I don't really know, and quite frankly at this point, I hope we could just get this over with on SmackDown. At this point, I am quite frankly very confused as to what the method is with Seth Rollins being in. I made the video yesterday basically saying, maybe when The Rock was at Bad Blood talking about the 3 strike thing where he held up the number 3 and did the Undertaker throat slice symbolization kind of thing. Maybe the first strike was him losing to Cody at Mania and losing the prestige of his own bloodline. The second strike was teaming with Cody at Bad Blood. And maybe the third strike is Roman teaming with Seth Rollins at War Games, setting up The Rock to be pissed with Roman, and then that sets up Roman and Rock for the main event of Mania 41. If they're not going that route, though, I guess Seth Rollins is just a one-off cameo to be in the OG Bloodline to fill out being the 5th member of the team. Either way you look at it, there's either going to be some good or a lot of bad, or a lot of good and some bad. There's really only a couple ways that this is going to go, right? So it's really just a situation at this point. I personally am uninterested in anything else that happened on Raw, except for the Sheamus versus Braun Breaker match, and obviously the Bloodline-related stuff, but this is just what it is at this point. All that matters is the Bloodline, and then I guess Braun Breaker and Sheamus, and then that's pretty much it. That's literally it. That's all that matters on these Raws anymore. Nothing matters. All this stuff is garbage. Damian Priest is a jobber. Gunther's a jobber. None of these people matter. You know what I mean? Rhea Ripley at this point, yes, she's a star in terms of her appeal and her mainstream appeal and, her draw with the audience and how over she is. But in all reality, there's nothing really special about Rhea Ripley when you really look at it. But, that's another discussion for another day. I personally think this episode of Raw was disrespectful to the fans. They actually had us sit here and watch this phoned-in, low-edited, low-effort garbage nonsense. And at the end of the day, if you're going to put out this low-effort and trash production, don't even release the show. Just skip a week of Raw and nobody will care at this point. Because nothing happened tonight that was really essential to anything going forward, quite frankly. Except for if you want to count it essential, that we're getting a 5v5 full of jobbers at War Games with the women's division. So, again, is what it is. I'm done. This episode gets a 1 out of 10. It's easily one of the 3 worst Raws of the year. I don't know if it's worse than the other one I called the worst Raw ever a month and a half or 2 months ago, but it rivals it. It definitely rivals it, man. So, yeah, anyways, garbage Raw. Let me know what you thought about Raw in the comment section below, and I hope everyone has a phenomenal day. Peace out. One love.